Dawn broke with a whisper, thin light spilling into the alley like a secret too shy to shout. The millionaire woman stood still, her silhouette framed by golden light bouncing off the crumbling brick walls. She was in her late 30s, statuesque, in a tailored beige coat that clung to her like armor. Her eyes, sharp and tired, scanned the sleeping forms curled beneath threadbare blankets and cardboard sheets. One of them, just a boy, lay clutching a paper bag as if it were treasure. Her hand hovered over him, trembling slightly. "Not yet," she whispered, almost to herself, then pulled back. Her heels barely made a sound on the damp concrete, but the air around her seemed to shift, weighted by everything unsaid. She had come back 3 nights in a row, feeding them, speaking in fragments. Never her name. Always distant. But this morning felt like an ending. The boy stirred slightly, murmured in sleep, and she froze. Then slowly, decisively, she stepped backward into the streetlight's edge. Her breath fogged in the cold, sharp air. Somewhere far off, a bell chimed. She turned her face away from him and began walking into the blur of early morning city traffic. She didn't look back. The boy's eyes fluttered open with the sudden awareness only street life could teach. He looked around, disoriented, reaching instinctively for his bag. It was still there. He pressed it to his chest. Then he sat up quickly, eyes darting to where she had been standing. Nothing. Just a swirl of mist and trash shifting in the weak breeze. He scrambled to his feet, barefoot on the freezing concrete, calling out softly. "Ma'am?" His voice cracked. "Miss." Nothing. The world had gone back to ignoring him. The warmth from the night before had vanished like a dream. He blinked hard, his eyes searching the dim end of the alley as if she might suddenly step back from the shadows. "Where'd you go?" he whispered. His breath curled in front of him and drifted away. A cat hissed and darted behind a dumpster. The city moved on without him. For a few seconds he just stood there, small, thin, too young to understand how permanent goodbyes can be. Then he turned slowly, shivering, and walked toward the mouth of the alley, as if hope might still be waiting on the next corner. Michael remembered her voice. Not the words, not exactly, but the calm rhythm. The way she said his name like it mattered. Last night she gave him an apple, a sandwich, and a plastic spoon wrapped in a napkin. She even smiled. Not with her mouth, but with her eyes. He had seen thousands of faces, mostly hurried, mostly mean. Hers was different. She crouched when she spoke, not towering. She asked questions and waited for real answers. He didn't tell her everything, but he told her his name, and she nodded like she'd known it forever. He sat again, trying to feel the exact spot where she knelt, as if the ground might still be warm from her presence. "You said you'd come back," he mumbled. His voice cracked in the chill. He traced his finger through a puddle's surface, watching it ripple. The city didn't care. It never did. But last night, it almost felt like someone did. Somewhere blocks away. The millionaire woman leaned against a cold glass window, waiting for her car. Her breath fogged the glass. Her hands, gloved and steady, gripped a folded note inside her coat. Her driver wouldn't question anything. That was the deal. As she stared out into the empty boulevard, memories fought for space. The boy's eyes reminded her of someone. Not exactly, but close enough. And she couldn't afford to be that woman again. Not now. Not when everything she had built stood balanced on secrets. Still, part of her wanted to turn around. She could feel his stare, even across miles. She whispered, "I'm sorry," then straightened her posture as the black car approached. The door opened with a hiss. She paused, took one final look behind her into nothingness, and stepped inside. The door clicked shut. The past, for now, remained behind. Michael stepped into the light, out of the alley, and everything felt too big. Too loud. The city didn't see him. Cars roared by. People passed without glancing. The smell of roasted nuts from a vendor mixed with exhaust and wet asphalt. His stomach growled, but he stood still, looking both ways, searching. His feet burned from the cold. Still, he scanned every face. Her face wasn't there. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out the napkin she gave him, creased, smudged, wrapped around a plastic spoon, like it was gold. "I'll find you," he muttered. He didn't know how, but he believed it. He had to. Then he turned left into the crowd, disappearing like mist. Michael walked with no direction, only a flickering memory guiding him. The spoon clutched in his hand had become a compass. Faces blurred by, none of them hers. His stomach ached. His toes burned. The city was relentless. But he pushed forward. Somewhere, someone must have seen her. He started asking, timidly at first. "Did you see a tall lady in a beige coat?" Most ignored him. One man waved him off. A woman pretended to answer a phone. But near a bakery, an old woman sweeping the sidewalk paused. "You mean the one who gave out food?" she asked. Michael's heart jumped. "Yes, that one." The woman nodded slowly. "She was here yesterday morning, bought muffins, gave some to a man with no shoes." Michael's eyes lit up. "Which way did she go?" The woman pointed. "That street, with the old church." Michael ran, hope fluttering behind his ribs. The spoon rattled in his coat pocket like a bell. For the first time that morning, his steps didn't feel aimless. They felt like they were pulling him toward something real. The old church stood weathered and defiant, cradled between two collapsing apartment blocks. Michael stared at its crooked steeple and creaking wooden doors. He stepped inside slowly. The pews were mostly empty, dust swirling in golden rays from stained glass windows. At the altar, a man in a worn black coat lit candles, his motions deliberate. Michael approached. "Excuse me, sir." The man looked up, kind eyes beneath a furrowed brow. "Yes, son." Michael hesitated, then showed the spoon. "Have you seen a lady? Fancy coat, kind eyes?" The man studied him. "She lit a candle yesterday," he said. "Didn't say much, left something." He pointed to the prayer box. Michael ran to it. Inside lay folded scraps, notes from strangers. He found one in careful handwriting. "Forgive the ones we leave behind." His breath caught. That was her. He knew it. The boy pressed the note to his chest, tears threatening. She had been here, and she had remembered him. Outside the church, the city returned to noise and motion. Michael stood on the steps, wind hitting his face like a slap. He didn't know where to go next. But then from across the street, he spotted a man tuning a battered violin. The street musician had played there yesterday. Michael darted toward him. "Did she stop here?" he asked breathlessly. The musician, a bearded man in his 40s, looked up. "The tall woman? Gave me $20 and asked for no song in return. Which way?" Michael pressed. The man pointed to the elevated train. Said she needed quiet. "Maybe Union Park?" Michael bolted again, barely pausing to thank him. His legs moved faster now. The spoon felt heavier, like it carried meaning. The city's chaos blurred as his eyes fixed on a new direction. He didn't have a map, but he had her trail. And that was enough. Union Park stretched out like a half-forgotten dream. Its benches were cracked, its grass yellowing, but to Michael, it looked like possibility. He scanned everything. On a bench beneath a crooked willow, a woman sat, older, bundled in layers. He approached. "Excuse me, did you see a lady, tall, rich-looking?" The woman squinted. "Everyone looks the same when they're leaving," she said. Michael's shoulders sank. But she was kind. That made the woman pause. "Kind?" she echoed. "Yeah. Gave a coat to a crying girl. Sat with her. Didn't talk much." Michael's breath quickened. "Where'd they go?" "That way," the woman pointed. Said something about the train station. Michael turned on instinct. "Thank you," he shouted behind him. As he ran, the woman called, "Kid." She looked sad, like someone saying goodbye. Michael didn't stop. The spoon in his pocket bounced with each step. The goodbye hadn't finished yet. The train station pulsed with life, announcements echoing, luggage wheels scraping, voices overlapping. Michael stood still, overwhelmed. Then he moved. He weaved through the crowd, eyes sharp, searching every face. He asked guards, vendors, strangers. Nothing. Then he saw it, a vendor's table with half-eaten muffins, the kind she liked. He asked the vendor. The tall lady? The man nodded. Bought 2 coffees, sat on track 6 for a while, then left in a black car. Michael's heart sank. He was close. Too close. He walked toward track 6. Empty now. Just pigeons and shadows. He sat where she had. Put the spoon on the bench. Then clenched it in his fist. "I'm not done," he whispered. He looked up at the sky beyond the rails. Somewhere out there, she was still moving. But now, he was moving too. The sun hung heavy as Michael wandered into a plaza humming with noise. A saxophone wailed from somewhere nearby, drawing his attention. A man in a tattered hat played beside a fountain, his eyes closed, lost in the melody. Michael stood and listened. When the song ended, he stepped forward. "Did she stop here?" he asked. The musician opened one eye. "The one in the beige coat?" Michael nodded. "She gave me $20. No one gives 20 anymore." The man scratched his beard. "She asked about the river. I told her it's where people go to forget." Michael's face tensed. "Did she say anything else?" The musician shook his head. "Only that she couldn't stay." He leaned in. "You chasing someone who don't want to be found?" Michael blinked. "No. I'm chasing someone who forgot she mattered." The man grinned sadly. "Then don't stop. That kind of chase, it's worth it." Michael nodded, stepping back into the crowd, toward the river's edge. The river was low, sluggish under a steel bridge. Michael walked the edge, shoes soaked in mud. Nearby, a woman leaned over the railing, tossing breadcrumbs to ducks. Her voice was husky with age. "Looking for someone?" Michael hesitated. "Yes, a woman. Gave out food. Beige coat." She nodded slowly. "She sat here. Didn't talk, just stared. Like she lost something." "She did," Michael whispered. "She just doesn't know I found it." The woman smiled faintly. "You her son?" "No," he said. "But maybe I'm the reason she came back." She looked him over. "You got that kind of face. One that makes people remember." Michael looked out across the water. "Did she say where she was going?" "Only that the city was too loud for silence." The boy blinked. "The library," he said aloud. The woman chuckled. "You sure?" "She said she used to hide there," he explained, almost to himself. And like that, he was off again. The library loomed like a quiet cathedral. Inside, warmth replaced the cold. Shelves whispered memories. Michael wandered aisle after aisle, past rows of quiet readers, past forgotten corners of the world. A librarian spotted him. "Need help?" she asked. He held up the spoon. "I'm looking for someone." Her face softened. "She sat by the window yesterday. Did she say anything?" "Just stared," cried quietly, wrote in a notebook. Michael's eyes sparked. "Is it still there?" The librarian nodded. "I kept it behind the desk. She left it like she wanted someone to find it." Michael opened the notebook. Her handwriting. Pages of reflections. Sketches of faces. One page read, "He reminded me of a door I once closed too hard." He didn't understand it all. But he knew this, she hadn't forgotten him. Not really. She was trying to remember who she was, too. Michael sat outside the library steps, the notebook on his lap. He flipped pages slowly, trying to piece her story from fragments. Words like forgive, burnt bridges, song jumped out. She had been running, from herself, from a past life, from someone she loved and lost. And now she was circling back. Michael whispered, "You were looking for you." The wind flipped a page on its own. On it, a sketch. It was of him. Not perfect, but it was him. His mouth parted in shock. She had seen him. Remembered him. Wanted to. That sketch told him everything. This wasn't a mistake. She had come back for a reason. The world could forget him, but she hadn't. She had seen him. Really seen him. That was more than anyone had done in years. He stood, eyes full of something like fire. This wasn't the end. He wasn't just chasing her now. He was chasing something bigger. Something like truth. From a rooftop across the street, the millionaire stood unseen. Wrapped in a coat, wind tugging at her scarf, she watched him read the notebook. Her face, half in shadow, was unreadable. Then it softened. "You found it," she murmured. Her voice cracked in the wind. She had left the notebook on purpose. A trail of her heart in paper and ink. She hadn't expected him to follow it. But he had. She turned away, stepping back from the ledge, disappearing into shadow. "Soon," she whispered. "Soon, Michael." Below, the boy stood straighter. Something had changed in him. He didn't know it, but they were walking toward each other now. Not fast. Not loudly. But surely. And that kind of path? It never ends in silence. Michael woke the next morning in an unfamiliar place, a safe shelter. A volunteer had seen him outside the library and guided him in. He wasn't used to beds. Or silence. But more than anything, he wasn't used to hope. He lay still, staring at the ceiling. The notebook sat beside him. Its pages whispered possibilities. When he finally rose, he asked the front desk for directions to the art museum. The woman there blinked. "Museum? She used to paint," he said. "I think she'd go there." Michael's instincts weren't guesses anymore. They were connections. The kind that come when two souls start orbiting each other. He clutched the spoon tighter in his coat. The volunteer gave him a scarf and a bus pass. "You really think she'll be there?" Michael nodded. "If I were her, I'd go where no one expected me to be, but where I could still see something beautiful." The bus pulled up, its doors yawning open like a promise. The museum's marble steps were wide, sunlit, and nearly empty. Michael climbed them slowly, watching his reflection stretch on polished glass. Inside, light danced across oil paintings. He moved past tourists and couples, scanning each room with intensity. In the impressionist wing, he paused. A woman stood alone, staring at a painting of a boy and a woman sitting under a tree. Michael's breath caught. The profile, it was her. He stepped closer, then paused. What if she didn't want to see him? What if the silence meant goodbye? But he stepped forward anyway. His voice trembled. "Is it you?" The woman turned. Her eyes, startled, red-rimmed, met his. Neither spoke. But her hand lifted slightly, almost reaching. He didn't move. He waited. And in that moment, the stillness of the gallery bent around two people caught between memory and fate. Neither of them knew what to say. The silence grew thick. Finally she whispered, "You found me." Michael nodded. "I was supposed to." She looked at the painting again. "That's not how the world works, you know." "Then maybe we need a different world," he said. She smiled faintly. "I hurt people, so did they," he replied. "But you fed me." Her lips trembled. "I thought if I helped, it would erase something." "It didn't," Michael said. "But it made something new." Her eyes welled. "I don't deserve anything new." Michael stepped closer. "You didn't leave me nothing. You left me a spoon, a drawing, a reason." She looked down, wiping tears with the edge of her coat. "I don't know what I'm doing." "You don't have to," he said. "Just don't leave again." Her voice broke. "I wasn't supposed to come back, but you did. And that was enough, for now." They left the museum slowly, like dreamers waking up. Outside, winter wind nipped at their cheeks. She handed him gloves. They're yours now, she said. He smiled. You kept them in your coat? I didn't know why, she admitted. Now I do. They walked side by side in silence for blocks. No destination, just motion. I had a son, she whispered. Michael looked up. He died before he turned 6. The words hung there. Fragile. Cold. I lost myself after that, she said. Then I saw you. I thought maybe I'd found a ghost. Michael listened without interruption. I'm not him, he finally said. But maybe I can remind you what it feels like to be seen. She stopped walking. You already did. He looked at her, small and certain. So what now? She took his hand. We keep walking, and we don't pretend anymore. That night, they sat under a bridge lit by golden streetlights. Michael nibbled a sandwich she bought while she sipped weak coffee from a paper cup. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't clean. But it was theirs. You know, she said, I don't know where I belong anymore. Me neither, Michael replied. But here feels okay. She smiled. You talk like someone older. Life made me skip grades, he said. She laughed quietly, warmth returning to her eyes. I could stay a few days longer, she said. Michael looked over. Or forever. She didn't respond right away. I still have things to fix. We can fix them together, he said. The wind howled softly through the concrete. She pulled the blanket tighter around both of them. Okay, she whispered. But only if we don't disappear again. Deal, he said, his head resting on her shoulder. The stars above didn't need to shine. Their light was already there. Michael and the woman, her name was Clara, found shelter in the quiet. For days they stayed under the bridge, sharing food, trading stories. But peace never lasts long. One morning, Clara's phone buzzed after weeks of silence. The name on the screen, Kellen, lawyer. Her past knocking. She stared at it for too long. You have to go? Michael asked. She nodded slowly. He's probably calling about the estate. Michael frowned. What estate? Clara sighed. I left everything behind. Millions, properties, a board seat. But I can't keep hiding forever. Michael looked away. So, you're leaving? Clara knelt beside him. No. I'm returning. To end it on my terms. He studied her. Will you come back? Her voice caught. I want to, but I don't know what I'll face. He handed her the spoon. Then take this, so you remember why you started walking again. Her fingers closed around it, eyes shining. I won't forget. Clara arrived at the gates of her old world, tall iron bars guarding a mansion built on control and image. Security buzzed her in. The staff stared, stunned. She hadn't been seen in weeks. In the study, Kellen, her lawyer, paced. Clara, thank God. Where have you been? She sat calmly. Walking. The press is circling. The board thinks you've had a breakdown. I had a breakthrough, she replied. He blinked. You're giving it up, aren't you? She nodded. The house, the board seat, the silence. I don't want it anymore. Kellen dropped into a chair. They'll destroy your name. Let them, she said. My name was the cost of hiding. She stood. Draft the paperwork. Everything but one account. The rest goes to the shelters. The food banks. The ones who still wait. Kellen stared at her. You've changed. No, she said. I finally stopped pretending. Michael waited on the same bench each evening, coat zipped high, fingers stuffed into his pockets. Every day she didn't come back, his chest ached a little more. He watched buses pass, listened to the wind whistle between buildings. He tried to stay hopeful. On the 5th night, he saw her. Walking, white city. No car. No driver. Just Clara, hair down, scarf fluttering. She sat beside him. Hey, she said gently. Michael didn't speak. No. You mad? She asked. He shrugged. Little. I had to finish things, she said. They're done now. He looked over. For good. Everything but one thing, she smiled. You. The wind blew between them. Then she held up a card. An apartment key. It's not big, but it's ours. Michael stared. Ours. No press, no walls, just a door that stays open. He grinned, tears forming. Okay, he whispered. But I'm picking the curtains. The apartment was tiny, cracked tiles, a crooked window, and the sound of neighbors arguing through thin walls. But to Michael, it was a palace. He ran his fingers over the doorknob. It clicks when it locks, Clara said. Means we can lock people out when we want. He nodded. They unpacked together. She brought books, mugs, one framed photo. He had nothing but the spoon and the napkin, now pinned beside the sink. This place smells like old socks, he laughed. We'll fix that, she smiled. That night, she made toast while he danced to statusy music from an old radio. It wasn't perfect, but nothing was broken. And for once they had heat, light, and enough quiet to hear each other breathe. Michael stood by the window. We really did it, huh? Clara walked over, put her hand on his shoulder. Yeah, we made it home. Clara opened a letter at the kitchen table. A foundation wanted to meet her. Not for charity, but partnership. They read your speech, Michael said. She nodded. They want to fund more shelters, more bridges, more benches, he added. She smiled. Exactly. They would go together. Not as Millionaire and Street Kid, but as something better. Two people who found each other on opposite sides of a system and decided to tear the fence down. That afternoon, they left the apartment with purpose. She wore jeans. He wore confidence. As they walked, people passed without staring. No one saw a scandal or a secret. They just saw two figures walking side by side. What if they don't listen? He asked. Clara replied, then we speak louder, together, always. He smiled. The world ahead was still broken. But now, they were not. Clara sat at the head of a long boardroom table, but this time, not as a figure of wealth. She was a woman with dirt under her fingernails and clarity in her eyes. Across from her sat polished executives fidgeting. You walked out, one said. Clara nodded. And I walked back indifferent. Another woman, sharply dressed, asked, You're asking to reallocate millions? Clara leaned in. I'm offering to repair what we broke. A murmur passed. You want us to fund shelters? No, Clara said. I want you to help build futures. Behind her, Michael waited silently. She glanced back at him. He gave the smallest nod. Clara turned to the board. This boy reminds me that money can shelter or isolate. I'm choosing shelter. Silence. Then, an older man cleared his throat. Let's talk numbers. Clara exhaled, tension softening in her jaw. Change didn't start with fire, it started with a voice refusing to stay quiet. After the meeting, Clara and Michael walked in silence. The sky cracked with light drizzle, misting their shoulders. Did we win? He asked. Clara shrugged. We didn't lose. They stopped beneath a canopy. I didn't know I had that voice, she said. Michael looked up at her. It's been waiting. She laughed, a little embarrassed. You always talk like an old soul. I'm a recycled one, he said. They stared at the gray sky. Clara whispered, I'm scared. Of what? Of being someone new. Michael stepped forward. You're not new. You're just remembering. She smiled, eyes glassy. You keep saying stuff that sounds like it came from a book. Maybe I am a book, he grinned. Then I'm glad I started reading you. Her voice cracked with a laugh. For the first time, the fear didn't win. The rain kept falling, but it felt more like renewal than retreat. They visited the shelter together the next day. Children whispered Michael's name like he was a hero. He didn't notice at first, until one girl tugged his sleeve and whispered, "You found her, didn't you?" He blinked. "How'd you know?" She pointed at Clara. "Because she doesn't look lost anymore." Clara knelt beside the girl. "And neither do you." The room filled with quiet laughter, paper cups and plastic chairs. It wasn't much, but it was more than they'd ever had. Michael led a drawing class. Clara organized, donated jackets. But more than action, they brought presents. They listened. They stayed. One boy with a busted lip asked Michael, "She your mom?" Michael paused. "No," he said. "But she's the reason I know what one should feel like." Clara overheard. She turned away quickly, but not fast enough to hide the tears. Some truths don't need fixing. They just need to be said. Later that week, Clara received a letter. Handwritten, no return address. She read it at the kitchen table while Michael brushed his teeth. The letter was from her estranged sister. "I saw the press conference," it began. "You looked like yourself again." Clara exhaled. "She saw me." Michael entered, hair wet. "Everything okay?" She nodded. "Just ghosts knocking." "Want me to answer the door?" he joked. Clara smiled, folded the letter, and tucked it into a drawer beside the spoon. "Not yet, but maybe soon." That night, she couldn't sleep. She watched Michael breathing, blanket curled under his chin. Her hand hovered over his head, then gently brushed his hair aside. He stirred, but didn't wake. She whispered, "Thank you for finding me." In the quiet of that moment, surrounded by second chances, Clara finally let herself believe she could be more than what she lost. Saturday morning arrived with sun and sirens. Not the emergency kind, but the celebration kind. A street fair had taken over the block. Music, dancing, booths of food. Clara and Michael wandered through it together, letting joy take over. Kids dragged him into games. Clara handed out flyers for the shelter's new art program. Someone snapped their picture. "You two look like a miracle," the photographer said. Clara paused. "We're not a miracle. We're just what happens when you stop running." Michael bit into a candy apple. "That sounded like something I'd say. I've been learning," she grinned. The music picked up. Michael pulled her toward the street. "Come on," he laughed. "You're dancing today." She hesitated, then let him lead. They twirled, badly but joyfully. And in the blur of color, noise, and life, they finally stopped looking back. Clara stood in front of a classroom for the first time in decades, not as a guest, not as a donor, but as a teacher. The students were older teens, their eyes guarded. Michael sat in the back, watching silently. She cleared her throat. "I was born into everything, and grew up with nothing that mattered." A few heads turned. "I walked away from my life, and somehow, I walked into his." She gestured toward Michael. "And in doing that, I found something worth keeping." She opened a folder. "Today we're going to write letters to people we never thought would talk to again, even if we never send them." A boy raised his hand. "What if the person's dead?" Clara paused. "Then write anyway. The words are still yours." Michael smiled. This wasn't about rescuing anyone. It was about handing people the pen and telling them, "Write your own ending." After class, Michael and Clara sat on a bench under a tree in the school courtyard. "I know that gender don't know when to speak." "You're different when you teach," Michael said. "I'm more me," Clara replied. "Then why'd you ever stop?" he asked. She exhaled. Grief, shame, fear of being seen without armor. He looked at her. "You still wear a coat." She smiled. "But I don't hide in it anymore." A soft breeze rattled the leaves above them. "Do you ever miss it?" Michael asked. "The house, the money." She shook her head. "That life was never mine. It was a suit I wore because I didn't know who I was. And now? Now I get to choose." Michael nodded. "Then let's choose something good next." She laughed. "Got anything in mind?" "Yeah," he grinned. Let's adopt a dog. She blinked. That actually sounds perfect. Beneath that tree, surrounded by voices and laughter, a family began forming, quietly, steadily, truthfully. Clara and Michael walked past the shelter's front door, hand in hand, a small rescue dog trotting beside them. He needs a name, she said. Socks, Michael grinned. Because of his feet, because of how you said the apartment used to smell. Clara burst into laughter. Fair. The dog barked once in approval. They stepped inside. A new family waited, a young mother and her daughter with nowhere else to go. Clara knelt. You're safe here. The mother nodded through tears. The little girl looked at Michael. Is she your mom? Michael thought for a second. Kind of. She found me when I didn't know I was lost. Clara looked over at him. And he reminded me I could still be found. The girl smiled. Then maybe we'll find someone too. Clara offered her hand. You already did. And just like that, the circle grew. The first frost came in quietly that week. Clara and Michael stood on their apartment rooftop wrapped in blankets, sipping cocoa from chipped mugs. We've been through a lot, he said. We've only just started, she replied. That's what scares me, Michael confessed. Clara looked into his eyes. The future doesn't promise safety, but it can offer choice, even for us, he asked. Especially for us. Below them, the city buzzed with lives unfolding, some in chaos, some in peace. Clara pulled a letter from her coat. It's to my sister. I'm sending it this time. Want me to mail it? He asked. No, I want to walk it to her. That's a long walk. So was finding you, she smiled. But it was worth every step. The wind picked up. Clara rested her head against his. Neither spoke again. They didn't have to. A year later, a mural appeared near the alley where Michael once slept. It showed a boy and a woman standing side by side, hand in hand, facing a sunrise. No names. Just color, light, and hope. Michael looked up at it during a walk with Clara and Socks. That's us, he said. It's everyone like us, she replied. A woman walked by and paused to admire it. Beautiful, she whispered. Michael smiled. It's true. The woman walked on, unaware she had spoken to the boy in the painting. Clara ruffled his hair. Still want to pick the curtains? Nah, he said. I think we'll paint the walls instead. They kept walking, past the mural, past the corner where he once searched for her, past the silence that once swallowed them. The world didn't stop for their story. But they had written it anyway. And now, it echoed.